So in this video I'm going to be analysing Manchester United's problems and build-up, the problem with the defensive shape as well as Eriksen's goal. But just quickly, check out my Patreon. I have got a Telegram group chat where I do live in-game analysis throughout every Manchester United game. You can share your thoughts on any work you do, maybe you make videos or you write articles, or if you just want to ask me questions. That will be linked below, but let's get straight into the video. So the issue with Manchester United's build-up strategy is that there really isn't any coordinated patterns of play. Here we see Andre Onana has possession on the edge of the box, with United forming a back three with Lindelof and De Ligt either side. Fenerbahce aren't engaging United that high up the pitch, they are sitting off in the middle third, but De Ligt has the space to move out to the edge of the defensive third. But the issue is that United don't really have any coordinated patterns of play, and so this reduces the amount of passing options each player has. You can see De Ligt's got the ball here and he's waiting for an option. Eventually Eriksen makes a move towards the ball and it opens up the passing lane for him to play that bounce pass out to Dalot. But when Dalot receives the ball, you can see just how uncoordinated United's movement is. Rashford's been instructed to hold a position in the half space in order to create a box with him and Mazraoui ahead of the double pivot of Ugarte and Eriksen. But when Dalot receives the ball, really you want Rashford in a position where he can make a run in behind, either to allow Dalot to feed the ball down the channel for Rashford's run, or Rashford's run at least is going to push the Fenerbahce backline backwards as they look to stop that movement in behind, which is then going to open up space for someone like Xerxes to drop into. But because these set patterns aren't there, Dalot is forced to go backwards, and United end up back in their defensive third. The ball ends up back with Andre Onana, and you can see here with Eriksen and Ugarte sitting in front of him, it's very easy for Fenerbahce to man-to-man press United and basically just cut off all the options. There's just simply not enough rotation between the central midfield positions. Eriksen and Ugarte are just sitting in a double pivot, making it easy for Fenerbahce to cut off those passes. And so because the passing lane over to Lindelof on the left side is being cut off by En-Nesyri, apart from just going back to De Ligt, Onana doesn't really have any passing options, and so he's forced to go long, and with a front four of Garnacho, Xerxes, Mazraoui and Rashford, United really aren't set up to win any long balls, and Fenerbahce just regain possession. Here we see another example of this. Andre Onana has possession, En-Nesyri is cutting off the pass to Lindelof, so Maximan is sitting high ready to press De Ligt if the ball goes out to him, whilst Dalot, Ugarte and Eriksen aren't positioned with the correct angles to receive possession and then find a pass immediately, nor is there enough movement to actually open up the space, and so Onana plays a pass into Dalot. He's really only got two options, going out to Lindelof or back to Andre Onana, but it's evident that there's not a clear strategy of how United are going to play for a press. Dalot takes a touch and ends up going back to Andre Onana, which actually works to open up a bit of space for Ugarte as the Fenerbahce central midfielder gets dragged high. Onana splits the two Fenerbahce players with the pass into Ugarte, who's dropping deep towards the edge of the box, but as Ugarte receives the ball here, really he should just be looking to bounce the ball off to Lindelof, but there's no strategy. It doesn't seem like Ten Hag is instructing the players to receive a forward pass from Onana with their back to go, bounce it off back to someone like Lindelof, who can then play forward. And so Ugarte doesn't really have any forward passing options, and he does try to work the ball out of the defensive third, because at this point United have been passing the ball around for about 30 seconds, not getting anywhere. He attempts a risky pass trying to work the ball out of the defensive third, but simply gives the ball away, and now Fenerbahce have the ball back inside of United's half. And this happened multiple times within the first 10 minutes of the game. United are initially set up that they do want to play out of pressure, but the complete lack of coordinated patterns of play, instructions to individual players, and angles being created means that Onana is just standing there with the ball waiting for a forward passing option, and in the end goes long to Xerxes, which is just a complete waste. I mean, in that game we were using Xerxes like he's a traditional target man. He's just not that player. He's someone you want dropping off and receiving the ball to feet. But for some reason Ten Hag is keeping him high alongside the centre backs, not giving him the freedom to drop into the space behind the midfield line press from Fenerbahce. And even then, apart from the initial setup in a 3-2-5 shape, United don't really seem to have a strategy of what they're actually going to do with the ball. And so compared to other managers like Sebastian Hoeneß, Roberto De Zerbi or Inzaghi, Ten Hag's possession strategy is incredibly limited and very easy for the opposition to set up, simply man-to-man pressing us with very little rotation, not much space being created, and we end up just going long, playing like a Sam Allardyce side, not set up to even win those first or second balls, and the game just becomes a constant series of turnovers. So Ten Hag's United struggle to break down compact defensive units or work the ball out of the defensive third during the build-up phase, and so that's why most of our best opportunities come when we transition the attack quickly after winning the ball back. Here we see Amrabat has possession just inside the United half, and you can see that Ten Hag set up his side in a 4-2-4, but for me the issue is that Garnacho on the far side and Rashford when the ball is on the opposite side are positioned far too high. Ten Hag seems to have an obsession with having the wingers this high in order to immediately press, but we can see the issue with this here, as with Garnacho and Rashford being told to sit in line with Mazraoui and Xerxes, there is always going to be space wide of United's midfield double pivot. And so you can see as Amrabat is shaping to pass, Garnacho has been told to anticipate a pass across the pitch into Soyuncu, and so he's already making a movement forward, which opens up the space for Amrabat to split Mazraoui and Xerxes, finding a pass into Fred, who's sitting in that space between Ugarte and Garnacho. But as the ball goes into Fred, Ugarte shows exactly why he's in the team, as he wins the ball back, plays it to Eriksen, keeps it short and simple, and then threads a pass into Xerxes. And now we actually do see the benefit of having Garnacho and Rashford sitting high rather than tracking back. And as Xerxes is about to thread this ball down the line for Garnacho, you can see exactly the structure of the front three. Xerxes is the deepest of the three, being the link man, whilst Rashford and Garnacho are sitting high, ready to make those runs in behind. And Garnacho does excellently, he's very direct and drives into the box, but I do think we see the consequences of using a forward like Xerxes, because if it's Højlund, he's probably between the two centre backs, making a run towards the 6-yard box, waiting for Garnacho to play the ball across the box ready for a tap-in. And this is also a reason for why if I was using Xerxes as that false 9, I think Rashford has to be given more freedom to move into more central positions, particularly out of possession, because he just can't get into the position needed to make the run across the defender as he would be able to if he started in a more central position. Garnacho's awareness is fantastic, he recognises that there's no player making that run towards the 6-yard box and so cuts the ball back to Mazraoui, he lays it off to Xerxes, and Xerxes' touch here is fantastic inside of the box under pressure, and his awareness and vision to not simply try and turn and get a shot away which will likely be blocked, but instead lay the ball off perfectly for Eriksen to strike first time, nestling in the back of the net and giving United a lead. And despite United eventually scoring from this situation, the problems in the defensive shape were there the whole game. And this is why I say people who are blaming the likes of Rashford and Garnacho for being lazy simply just don't understand the tactical issues that are going on, because it's simply not laziness, it's just how Ten Hag is setting up his pressing and defensive shape, and we can see that here. As a Fenerbahce player on the left side of the back three receives the ball, you can see Rashford has been instructed to immediately apply the pressure. However, the issue is because Ten Hag refuses to push one of his backline further forward to the press, Dalot is sitting with St Maximin and it just leaves the left back completely open. As the ball is getting played to the player on the touchline, you can see Dalot is flagging De Ligt over, but Dalot has to wait because he can't simply charge out and apply the pressure, because that will leave St Maximin completely free and open up the opportunity for Fenerbahce to play the ball down the channel in behind Dalot. Now as the Fenerbahce left back receives the ball, St Maximin doesn't actually make the run into the channel. I think he should be making that run and the centre forward should be the one dropping deeper, and the player who's sitting in the half space behind Ugarte should then be making the run on the inside of Lisandro Martinez. That doesn't happen this time and United get away with it. However, a few seconds later you can see Xerxes applying the pressure. Once again the ball goes out to the player on the left side of Fenerbahce's back three, and you can see Rashford himself is hesitant because he recognises a dilemma, because he's been instructed by Ten Hag to immediately push out and apply the pressure to this player in the left-sided centre-back position, but he knows if he does this simply opens up a pass down the line and it essentially makes his pressing completely pointless. And so you have a situation where Rashford's in two minds. He knows the correct decision is just to hold his position and don't allow that passing lane to open up, but he's been instructed to apply pressure, and so in the end he does neither. And Dalot can't cover him and push up onto the left back because St Maximin has pulled wide, and so you can see the confusion that's being created between Dalot and Rashford simply because of how Ten Hag is setting up his defensive shape, asking Garnacho and Rashford to press immediately as soon as the ball goes out wide without having the proper positional setup behind them to stop them simply being played around. This time the ball does go back inside to St Maximin and De Ligt can't get across in time in order to stop him, and now you can clearly see the issue with using such a high front four who are going to press aggressively without instructing one of the back line to push up to help the double pivot. As the space is there for Fred, Lisandro Martinez is being positionally pinned, and then you've got the Fenerbahce right back in a massive amount of space, and if St Maximin gets a pass into Fred correct, the Fenerbahce right back's going to have massive amounts of space to run into. However, we see the work rate from Garnacho as he gets back in, makes the interception and cuts off that opportunity. But I think it's pretty clear that this whole nonsense about the players being lazy just isn't true. It's tactical issues. People who deny this simply just don't have the tactical theory to understand it, or just aren't watching the game closely enough. So let me know if you agree with my analysis in the comment section below, and check out my Patreon for the Telegram group chat, as well as some unreleased videos and articles as well.